Hello everyone. Today's poem is 梦李白二首其二 by 杜甫. The title means Li Bai in my dream, 2 poems. This is the second. Li Bai and 杜甫 is the most outstanding, the 2 superstars in the Tang poetry, and they was very good friends once. They have toured for months together, and they even sleep on the same bed with the same quilt. So that's the very typical brotherhood friendship in the ancient China. It's not gay. They are not gay at all. But the very, very typical behavior between good friends, between brothers, is they sleep together on the same bed with the same quilt. Li Bai was 11 years elder than 杜甫, and at the time, Li Bai was a very, very famous poet already, and he was just abandoned by the emperor. And 杜甫was still a sort of the junior person or junior poet, and they enjoyed a lot together, dining, touring, and go to the Taoist temples. They all try to practice the Taoism. 杜甫also learned a lot from Li Bai on the poetry writing. All in all, they are very, very good friends. And through their lifetimes, 杜甫wrote 15 poems about Li Bai or memory to Li Bai. And Li Bai also wrote several poems for 杜甫. Anyhow, after the 3 tours together, they never meet each other again in their lifetimes. This poem was written in the year 759, 4 years since the Civil War started, and 14 years after their last meetup. So they have a long time not see each other, and everybody actually lead a very poor life. It's wartime in the 4th year of the Civil War. 杜甫actually lived in the place of Qinzhou or Tianshui city. Today you can see the map. And he lead a very humble and poor life, and finally, not for long, just for months, he had to move to the south, to Sichuan province, to Chengdu city, to find a way to survive. So you can imagine when 杜甫wrote this poem, he was in a very, very poor status as well. So the trigger for this poem is Li Bai was exiled to the southwest Guizhou province today, and there's a rumor that Li Bai died of the shipwreck on the midway to his final place of the exile, and thus 杜甫felt so sad, and he wrote these 2 poems and as a memory to Li Bai. 梦李白二首其二 杜甫 浮云终日行，游子久不至。三夜频梦君，情亲见君意。告归常局促，苦道来不易。江湖多风波，舟楫恐失坠。 出门搔白首，若负平生志。冠盖满京华，斯人独憔悴。孰云网恢恢，将老身反累。千秋万岁名，寂寞身后事。Can you feel the sadness, the fury, the sorrow of Li Bai? So it's a very, very mixed feeling of 杜甫, and with a very, very strong doubt as well, because Du Fu is not sure about the death of Li Bai. So he writes exactly what he feels. Okay, let's go to the point. 浮云终日行，游子久不至。The floating clouds goes around all day long, and that touring son, didn't come to me for a long, long time. 浮云, the floating clouds. 游子, the touring son, is sort of the formula writings in the classic poetry, normally express homeward bound, homesick. The touring son referring to a man on his duty, so he was away from his home, away from his mother and father for quite a long time. So he just like the floating clouds. He don't have a root. The home is the root of everyone. So they compare the floating clouds to that touring man, touring son. They are quite similar things, and this is a quite formula. You can see that in many classic poetries. And here, Du Fu used it to express their friendship. So this compared them as the real brothers. They are the root for each other. So, and they have a very, very deep feelings. They are the real brotherhood. Okay, the next sentence. 三夜频梦君，情亲见君意. So for 3 nights, I dreamed about you, and it's so dear when I saw you, or you saw me, and I saw your true feelings as well. So actually, that's also a typical way of the classic poetry, that if I want to write, I'm thinking of you, but I won't write it that way. I will write, you are thinking of me, and so what, and so on. So I'm writing on behalf of you, and to express on the surface, it express you are thinking of me for what, and for what way, and for and do what things. But in reality, that's the way a lot of people use to express his own thinkings. So you can see this writing in the following sentences. It's all about Li Bai in dream, Li Bai doing this, Li Bai saying this, Li Bai shows some feelings. But in reality, it's the way of the poet Du Fu himself to reflect his thinking to Li Bai. 3 nights could be 3 nights, or could be more than 3 nights. So actually, nobody knows. At least 3 nights. You can see from here that how Du Fu's feelings toward Li Bai. Okay, let's continue. 告归常局促，苦道来不易. 告归. So it's all about Li Bai. Li Bai, in the dream, Li Bai told Du Fu that I had to go, while in reality, Du Fu know Li Bai has died. So in the dream, it's the ghost of Li Bai. We can see that very clearly in the first poem. I will attach the poem in the last part of this video. You can check that. So in the second poem, it's the ghost of Li Bai come to Du Fu's dream and meet up with Du Fu. And the ghost can only move around in the night time. So before the daybreak, the ghost of Li Bai had to get away. And the farewell by the ghost looks very humble and hurried. So which turn out they are very, very good friends. They don't want to be parted at the moment. They still had a lot of things to share with. They still want to maybe toast to each other. But the words from the ghost of Li Bai is just something else. That's also a very, very Chinese way. We don't like to express our real feelings direct. So he talks something others. It's a very, very hard way to come to here. 苦道来不易. It's a very, very hard way to come here. It's not easy. And through on the ways there, it's the rivers and the lakes. There's also big winds, there's big waves. So it's a lot of danger along the ways. And very likely it's so easy that my ship will sink. There will be a shipwreck. So this also reconfirmed the doubt of Du Fu as well, because he thought Li Bai died by the shipwreck, but still have a strong doubt on if Li Bai has died or not. So here it's used the ghost of Li Bai to express his doubt, and he still think or he hope Li Bai is still alive, so he could keep away from the shipwreck. So the ghost of Li Bai still is talking to him. So the ghost of Li Bai doesn't mean Li Bai has died. So it's just sort of the spirit inside a human body. Sometimes it can leave the real body and move around in the nighttime. So you can see all these words, from these words, that Du Fu has a strong doubt, and he still hope Li Bai is still alive, or he could keep away from the shipwreck. And Jianghu is a very general word in the surface, the river and lake, but actually it refers to the wildness of the nature, or the wildness in a human society. So that has both meanings. Okay, the next sentence. 出门搔白首，若负平生志. So when the ghost of Li Bai is about to get out of my door, get out of my home, he scratched his white hair, and that looks like he feel such a sorrow. He don't feel satisfied through his lifetime, because everybody knows Li Bai was so self-pride. He was such a talented person and he wants to do something big, but in reality, or at the time of day, he was a prisoner. He was sent to the most remote place for exile. So that's such a huge contrast between his talent, his ambition, with his reality, the reality be exiled. So far we have finished the first two parts of this poem. The first part is just like the beginning and tell us I have dreamed about Li Bai for many nights, and we haven't seen each other for such long time. And the second part is all about the dream. So he described everything about Li Bai. Actually, it's his real thinking reflected by the dream of Li Bai, or what Li Bai did in that dream. So you can see it's a very typical writing in the Tang poetry. And then the third part is sort of the ramp up, or the feelings expressed directly by 杜甫。冠盖满京华，斯人独憔悴。The high-ranking officers, the noble persons, are all around in the great capital city, Chang'an City. But this guy, only this guy, looks so humble and so shameful. So this is a very famous sentence. 冠盖满京华，斯人独憔悴。冠 is the head, especially the head for the noble and the high-ranking officers. 盖 is a big cap, or you can treat it as an umbrella for the noble person, for the high-ranking officers. And 冠盖 together refers to those noble person, the most outstanding high-ranking officers. The next sentence, 孰云网恢恢，将老身反累。Who said that the law is fair and that Li Bai was damaged, was punished at the time when he was so old? 网恢恢 is from 庄子. He has the word 天网恢恢. The net of the sky is very fair. So which means actually refers to the law, or the ruling of law is very fair. It will take those guilty punished with fairness and let those very no guilties to be released. And here 杜甫 actually has a very strong doubt. The law is unfair because the law put my best friends, the most talented person, the best man, into prison and put him into the exile. So, and especially when this guy was so old. So this year, Li Bai was 58, and 3 years later, he died. So very old already. And it's also a tradition for Chinese to respect the elder person, not to say punish such an old man at the age of 58. So it's so unfair to Li Bai, and 杜甫 was such a fury toward this punishment, this exile of Li Bai. Okay, the last sentence. 千秋万岁名，寂寞身后事. Li Bai, no matter what he experienced or whatever everybody say about Li Bai, he will be the most famous person for 1,000 years, for 10,000 years. He will have his name, his fame lasted for forever. But anyhow, it's so silent and alone after his death. 身后事. The things happened after Li Bai's death. 身后 means the death. 生前 means still alive. At the first glance, the last sentence is a big paradox. As Du Fu put it, Li Bai's name and fame will last forever, for 1,000 and 10,000 years. But again, he said after Li Bai's death, Li Bai was in such a silent, alone. So just think about that. Li Bai was in exile to the most remote place. Just like today, Li Bai was exiled to the South Pole. So there's nobody there. And even there is somebody, nobody know his fame. So this actually tells the very, very sad and poor ending of Li Bai. He was such a great person, but how could he end up at such a very, very savage, very wild, most wild place that with no civilization at all? With a second thought, how about before Li Bai's death? Still very poor life. So this makes the fame of Li Bai toward his life story, life experience with a huge contrast before his death and after his death. Li Bai was in such a poor condition, always alone and always silent. Nobody cares him. But with his talent, with all his poetry, his artworks, with his characters, with his life stories, his name will last forever. So far, till today, Li Bai's name have lasted for 1,300 years, which proved Du Fu is telling the truth. Okay, that's for today. And that's a great story between Li Bai and Du Fu. And I wish you enjoy that. Bye-bye.